Hello guys, Cracker here, and today I'm going to talk about how to create simple shapes in CorelDraw. This is just a design tip tutorial. Now, especially for new beginners, people that are just coming up in graphic design and they want to learn how to use CorelDraw, this is going to be very useful for them. I want to replicate this, this image. Now, I thought the best way to to show you how to use shapes to form objects is to actually replicate something else. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to start with the one on this side, the red icon. So now to start, let's first of all create the shape. We're going to use a square. Now I'm going to sort of draw over this because I want the proportions to be the same. Of course, we can do it without drawing over it, but the proportions are not going to be the same. I just want everything to be the same. So I'm going to draw over this, but that is just the only reason. Now I'm going to start by drawing a square. Now this is the square tool, or sorry, the rectangle tool. So I'll select the rectangle tool and then click and drag and draw a rectangle. Now, having drawn the rectangle, I'm going to go select the shape tool and then click at one corner of the rectangle and drag. You see, that has carved the edges of the rectangle. Now I'm going to click here and then drag again to carve the other end. Now it's that easy. Okay, so we have drawn let me zoom in. We've drawn our shape using the rectangle tool, so I can always come in here to make adjustment if I need to, but really no need. Now the next thing I'm going to draw is the circle. So I'm going to click on the ellipse tool, click, and then I'm going to drag from the top here down. Okay, I'm just going to drag from there and then drag this to this point and drag this to this point. So we have our shape, an elliptical shape. Now the next thing is we want to duplicate this shape and rotate it. We duplicate it twice and then rotate it in the angle. So now if I turn this, now if you take a look at this place, now this is the property bar for the ellipse tool. Now this is the angle of rotation. Now if I turn this way, I just want to have a rough idea of the angle. So it's like we have about 59 or 60. So this ellipse is rotated at an angle of 60. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to just click on this one. I'll press Ctrl D and then I'll simply put in 60 here and press enter. Okay, and then having done that once, the next thing I'm going to do is just press Ctrl D. Now Ctrl D is simply duplicate the object and rotate it, so it repeats the last action. I hope you understand that. If you have any question, ask in the comment section. Okay, now we have our our shape. Then the inner circle, what we're just gonna draw a circle. We're not just gonna click and drag. We're gonna hold down Control and click and drag. So that would make it a circle instead of just a free form ellipse. So we're gonna click and drag. Okay, so that is what we want. Now we already have this shape. We want to create another shape here. So instead of starting from the beginning, we just duplicate this shape by pressing Ctrl D. And then if you go to the property bar, you see mirror horizontally. So I'm just going to mirror it and then move it over. Now I'm holding down Control so that it will move on a straight line. If I don't hold down Control, I might just struggle to get it to move on a straight line. So I'm holding down Control to move it on a straight line, and then I leave it there. Now we have two of these shapes. What I'm going to do, I'm just simply going to select the two of them. I'll select this one by clicking on it, and then I'll hold down Shift and select this one. And then I'm going to press Ctrl D to duplicate the two. So I press Ctrl D. It has duplicated it. It's still in the same position. That's why you haven't seen any changes. Now I'm going to go to the property bar and flip this, mirror it vertically. So I'm going to mirror it vertically. I'll hold down Control, drag this in a straight line, move it down here. Okay. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create this. Now this is quite simple. We have 4 squares. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to go to the rectangle tool, come to this corner, hold down Control. Now because we want it to be square, we don't want it to be a free-form rectangle. So we're going to hold down Control to constrain the proportions of the, the width and the breadth of the square. So we're going to drag and we have a square. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this square. So I'm going to just press Ctrl D, and then I'm going to come to the corner here, the transformation handle, the lower part. I'm going to drag it up till it becomes smaller, then start growing again till I get that. The reason I'm doing that is because I want the edges, the angles to touch each other perfectly. I could have drawn a different square, but I will have to struggle to align it here. Okay. No, so that is why I duplicated it and rescaled it. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to click here, press Ctrl D again, and then I'm going to drag from the upper transformation handle, drag it down all the way back here. Okay, so we have, and then you guess what I'm going to do to this, right? Duplicate, drag down here. Okay, now we have that. The next thing we're going to do is this one. Now this one is going to be a little bit more advanced, especially if you're new to CorelDraw. So we found out here that, can you guess what shapes are we going to use to create this? Yeah, we're going to use circles to create everything here. So first thing I'm going to do is this. I want to create the outer part first, because that is where most of the work is. Okay. So I'm going to create a circle. Now what I want to do is I want to hold down Control, create a circle that is roughly as big as, I can imagine if this were to be a full circle, this would be the size. So I'm just going to estimate that. Okay. Now I'm going to keep that aside. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a circle by pressing Control and dragging with the circle ellipse tool. Okay. And I want to make sure that it's the same size as this. I'm just going to estimate what is the size of this thing. Okay, right there. Okay. Now the next thing I'm going to do is this. I want to count the number of circles that may have, the number of circles that cut through this arc. I want to count the number of arcs that we have on this shape. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we have 12. Okay, the reason I'm counting that is because I want that will come into play in the next thing we're going to do. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this circle, move it here, and then I'll go to where you have the drop shadow tool, click and hold. Now you have a drop down, a fly out tool. Yes, this is a fly out toolbox. So we're going to click on blend, and then we're going to click from this and move all the way to here. Now if you take a look at the property bar for the blend, you see that here, blend object, you have 12. So we're going to change that to, you have 20. We want 12 because we counted 12 circles, 12 arcs here. So it is the circles that is going to make up the arc. So we need 12. So I'm going to click 12 and put 12 there. So you see it reduces in number. So we have 12 here. Now, with this selected, I'll come up here. So we have new path. So I'm just going to click on the new path, and then you see there is an arrow. So this arrow is going to apply this blend to the path that you select it with. So I'm going to use this arrow to select this circle, and the blend applies to it. Okay. And then we will do more than that. Okay. So you see the blend is applied onto the circle, the blend group. you know, comes on top of the circle. So the next thing we're going to do is this. I'll go here, nothing. Okay, right here we have blend along full path. Now let me point out something. You notice that I was hunting for the options here, and that's because if you don't use this blend tool often, sometimes you may not remember exactly where the options are. Okay, so I'm going to go to Effect, Blend. Now I clicked on that, and then you see the panel, the blend panel is, you know, shows up here. So you have all the options here. So now with this, we really don't need to go hunting for the options here. So I'm just gonna click blend along full path. So I want this object to blend along the circle, you know, around the circle. So I've clicked that, and then I'm gonna click apply. Now you see roughly blend, you know, it roughly applies around. As if you can take a look at this, the first one, you know, is applied correctly, then the second one not so correctly. Now are you sure we have 12 objects here? Let me count. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14. Okay, now what happens is this, and funny enough, I did not know this, that this number does not take into account the first and the second object. It only counts the number of the blended object in between these two. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make it 10. Okay, beautiful. Now take a look at that. Everything falls into place. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is this. I'm going to select the blend, and then I'm going to go to Object, Break Blend Apart. Now the reason we're going to do this because we don't want this blend group to be attached to the circle. Right now, because it is blended around the circle, it is attached to it. So anyway I move this circle to, the blend will go with it, but I want the blend to be independent of the circle. That is why I want to break it, you know, apart. So I'm going to click on the blend, go to Object. Now if you forget where to go to, just right click, you see Break Blend Apart, or the shortcut is Ctrl K. Now we've done that. Now I'm going to select this blend. You see, I can move it. Now notice that the two objects, the first and the last, you know, object, are separated. Now I'm going to undo moving it. Then I'm going to hold down Shift and select the two, and then group it. So I want them to be together. Now by grouping it, I use Ctrl G, so group it. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select this circle, which I can move away, right? But we don't want to move it away. Let me undo that. I'm going to press Ctrl D to duplicate it, and then I'm going to reduce it. Now what I'm doing is this. I'm holding down Shift while reducing it so that it will reduce it proportionately to the center. Okay, now let me undo that. If I don't hold down Shift, this is what is going to happen. See? Okay, so I'm holding down Shift while clicking and dragging. Now we get the idea around there where we want it to be, just around there. Let me hold down Shift and move it, increase it a little bit. Now I'm going to do this. I'm going to press Ctrl D again. Automatically Ctrl D duplicates and then reduces the next circle, but it's much, you know, smaller than what we want. So I'm going to just hold down Shift and then increase it a little bit. Now the first and the second circle is going to make up this shape that has white. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to hold down the first circle and the second circle, and then I'm going to go here and click Combined, and the two, combine the two, and then this remains on its own. Now that I've combined this to create a single shape, now the two of them is a single shape, I'm going to select this, the blend group that is now, you know, on its own, and then I'm going to hold down Control and select the shape we just created the shape we just created by combining the two circles. And then I'm going to go here and click Trim. Okay, now this blend group has now trimmed you know, the shape we just created. So I'm going to move it away. See, that has been trimmed. So I'm just going to fill it with white, just for the heck of it. I'm going to fill this with white also. Okay. All right. So we've created that shape. Now for this is a pie. So we really don't need to create this, you know, because not that we cannot, but it's just unnecessary. So what I'm going to do is this. Okay. So now for the pie symbol, we're not going to recreate it because it's going to be too much work. What we're going to do is sometimes there are fonts, you know, that you can get this from, but I've not been able to get a hold of, you know, that in CorelDraw. In Microsoft Word, you can go to symbols and get those fonts. In symbols in CorelDraw, you see other symbols, but pi seems to be missing. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the internet, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just type pi symbol. Okay, that's wrong. Symbol. Okay, go to images, and then we're just gonna get any pi symbol. We really don't need it to look exactly like this, but if you can find something that looks exactly like this, that is fine. So I'm just gonna get maybe this. Okay, so this pi symbol, I'm just gonna go ahead and download it. I think I'm fine with this. Let me see if there are other ones. Okay, fine with this. Okay, so open image in user. All right, so I've imported our image into CorelDraw. What I'm going to do is I'm going to trace it. So we go to bitmap, quick trace. So you see that as quickly. So I'm going to delete the original image. Now this is the traced image. I'm going to ungroup it, delete the white parts out. So we have our pie. So even though it doesn't look exactly like this, I even prefer this one. So I'm just going to take the pie, rescale it, and just drop it there. So time to color. So I'm going to color it, we can choose any color we want. For instance, I want blue, so I can go here and choose blue, and then choose white. Now I assume you already know how to apply color to an object. So I right click to remove the outlines. I click on a color to fill in, and then right click to remove the outline. So I'm going to select this, hold down shift and select this, and this. I'm going to change it to white, then right click on this to remove the outline. Now for the white, for this, I'm going to increase the outline to make it as large as the original object. So I'm going to make that 5 pixels is not enough. 8 pixels should be enough. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click here and press Ctrl R. It's going to repeat the same thing for this, and then I'm going to select all of them by holding down Shift and right clicking on the color to make it to make the color white, and then I'm going to click at the color white there. I'm going to make this red. Okay, so just like that, I'm applying the colors and removing the outline where necessary. Okay, so once we're done with that, just delete what is not necessary. I'm going to move this up. So you see we've recreated these, you know, shapes by using we recreated these objects, these shapes and symbols by using shapes, only shapes. Of course we got the Y from the internet. Like I said, we could have recreated the Y, but it wasn't necessary. You don't have to stress yourself, you know, when you don't have to. Okay, so that is the end of this tutorial. I hope you learned something. I hope you'll be able to create shapes or recreate shapes from images if you really need a scalable vector to use for your project. So if you have any questions, you can ask in the comments and I will respond to them.